Dr. Arlan Fuhr, the chairman and founder of Activator Methods International. Welcome to Activate Your Practice. Today, I'm very happy to say that I have the Secretary General of the World Federation, who I interviewed a year ago, and just for all of our audience, I want you to know he had the most downloads, 56,000, of anybody we've interviewed over the year, and we've interviewed a lot of people. So, good morning, Richard.
Arlan, it's wonderful to be back, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you again.
I'm kind of sad about this meeting because, as you know, Richard is retiring after 10 years at the WFC, and so he has handpicked, along with his committee, a new Secretary General. But I'm going to miss him because we worked for at least almost a full 10 years together supporting the WFC. And as you step down now, what are some of the key milestones and achievements that you're most proud of during your tenure as a Secretary General?
Well, it's been quite a journey, Arlan, and as you say, we've worked together for 10 years, and you know that we worked together before that when I was at the European Chiropractors Union. So you and I go back a long way, Arlan, and can I just say what an absolute privilege it's been. And so what are the milestones? What are the achievements? Well, you know, it's been quite a journey, and it's been exciting. I think one of the things that sticks in my mind the most is our Be Epic campaign. This is something that we launched around 2017 with the EPIC acronym standing for evidence-based, people-centered, interprofessional, and collaborative. And little did I know at the time that we launched this that it would really catch on around the world. It would catch on with national associations. It would catch on with student bodies. It would catch on with educational institutions. And the Be Epic campaign is something that it's simple. It's been effective. And it's given people a focus. It's given the WFC a focus. So I think I'm really proud that has really taken off. I think also the fact that we've developed as an international organization. I think one of the things that has been really rewarding is the fact that we have this convening power, the opportunity to bring people together from all backgrounds, all nature of the profession, and it's been really exciting. So I think it's been quite a ride, and as you say, I'm coming to the end, but there's a lot of stuff to look back on, and also a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Well, how do you think the profession has evolved?
Well, the profession has evolved through, a number of things. We developed a vision, and that vision is a world where all people in all nations of all ages have access to chiropractic so that populations can thrive and reach their full potential. And coupled with that, we have our mission, which is to advance awareness, utilization, and integration of chiropractic internationally. So I suppose when we look back and we look at how the profession has evolved, I would like to think that through having this focus, this mission, this purpose, more people know about chiropractic, more people are using chiropractic, and chiropractic is now integrated into health systems internationally and also integrated into people's personal health teams.
What do you think the biggest challenge you faced during the whole tenure?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge that we faced during the tenure, and I'm sure this is not for me just as the Secretary General, I'm sure that almost every other CEO of almost every other organization would look back on the last 10 years and say that the COVID-19 pandemic was probably the biggest challenge we faced. It came out of nowhere. We had no real experience of dealing with anything of that magnitude. And it was really a journey into the unknown. So we were, like many others, we were having to navigate a global pandemic with no instruction manual. So it was really just trying to work with our members, trying to listen to the challenges, be a listening ear for our 96 country members, and try and help them navigate through the challenges in their own countries with their own particular challenges.
What progress has been made in integrating chiropractic into mainstream healthcare?
Well, I think that really there has been a shift globally towards non-pharmaceutical, non-surgical interventions. When you look at some of the guidelines that have come out, the international documents that have come out, this has really driven a shift in the status of chiropractic globally, because the evidence now, Arlan, is on our side. The guideline after guideline, recommendation after recommendation is talking about the very interventions that chiropractors are trained and educated to deliver. And so with the guidelines stating that whether it's manipulation or exercise prescription or patient education or the biopsychosocial model, this all plays into the model of care that the majority of chiropractors globally adopt. So, it couldn't have been better for us in that respect.
Well, I used to have a sign in my office and it said, try chiropractic first, medicine second, and surgery last. Now, I'm not so sure that wasn't a pretty good sign.
I think that was entirely accurate. I mean, my daughter is an orthopedic surgeon, so her life is surgical intervention. And I think she would say exactly the same as what you've just said. I always think the mark of a good surgeon is their reluctance to operate unless there are clear indications to do so.
The WFC placed an emphasis on diversity and inclusion in recent years. What steps have you taken to make chiropractic more inclusive profession?
Well, one of the things that I've said right from the beginning is that the WFC should be there for the many, not for the few. So it's important that what we do is relevant to the majority, if not all, of our stakeholders. We have members from 7 world regions. And of course, with the social determinants of health, what health looks like from one country to another, what region to another, is entirely different. And when I talk about these social determinants of health, these are the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, age, and die. And so that can be hugely different between the United States and countries like Botswana, for example, where I've worked. I had experience working there with World Spine Care, and I've seen at firsthand some of the challenges that people face with healthcare. So the fact that the WFC can have relevance in the United States, relevance in Botswana, relevance in our other regions is really, really important. And the other thing is that it's important that as the WFC, the people at the WFC are relatable to the community that we serve. And that's really important too.
I remember being a delegate to the WHO, the World Health Organization, and my wife said as we walked out after about the third day, how have you categorized this? And I said, on the right were the third world countries, which was infection. On the left were the more diverse and more developed countries, and theirs was arthritis. I mean, it just was obvious to me. It was chronic disease versus acute disease. And I remember you've been around the WHO for a long time. Do you buy that kind of a look at it?
Yeah, I think that the WHO has evolved, and I've been very proud to be the designated focal point for the WFC. We have really invested in developing our relationship with WHO. The WHO has been around since 1948, so they preceded us by 40 years. They had a definition of health, which was a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmity. They have never changed that definition in all the years that they've been involved. But I think, Arlan, it really plays into what we do as chiropractors, not just focusing on symptoms, but focusing on the whole person. And the concept of whole person healthcare is something that's very much alive with the WHO now. And they've shifted their emphasis. As you say, when it was started, it was about combating the millions of people that were dying from conditions like malaria and cholera and TB and smallpox and syphilis and measles. These were those communicable diseases. But in recent years, they've recognized the importance of non-communicable diseases. And musculoskeletal conditions, low back pain, we now know is the largest single cause of years lived with disability on the planet. And who is the profession that is well placed to manage spinal conditions? It's chiropractors.
Well, everybody looks at sports injuries. Every young student that I talk to wants to be a sports injury doctor for a big team. And I interviewed Monty Hessler, who is the team physician for the Phoenix Suns and the San Francisco Giants. He's got like 3 rings for World Series with the San Francisco Giants. And I said, help me with this, Monty. How long did it take you to get to the big leagues? And he always said it was quite short, 14 years. And so I throw that out when I'm teaching in colleges, because I say, don't expect to be on a big league team in the first 6 months that you're out of college, because it's not going to happen. And so I think probably the future is evolving in that direction, so they're seeing how good chiropractic can be. Now, what areas of chiropractic research excite you the most?
Well, I think there are two areas in particular. I think one of the things that we need to demonstrate is cost effectiveness. We know that chiropractic is effective. We know that the interventions that chiropractors use in their daily practice are effective because they feature in guidelines, they feature in the Lancet, they featured in the WHO recommendations. But when you speak to politicians who are going to be the decision makers in relation to the integration of chiropractic into health systems, the one question they ask is, look, we know that what you do is effective, but you need to show us that it's cost effective. Because ultimately, that's the question that the bean counters are going to ask. That's the question that the policymakers are going to ask. So we need to make sure that we're not just effective, but we are cost effective. And so I think that's the area of research that excites me most.
Well, you know, I have been assessing this whole thing because people ask, you know, you're a veteran, yeah, like 60 years, and they ask, what do you see? And I say, you know, what I see happening by 2030, half the population in the United States is going to be 65 or over. The geriatric population is a huge market, and we can't put everybody in a nursing home. And so mobility is a big deal, and having chiropractors on the front to keep them mobile and keep them active. So I think, but we need to have that data published.
You're absolutely right, Arlan, and I've been doing a lot of work in and around public health, as you know, for many years, and I've spoken recently on public health, and one of the things that I say is that, look, you know, some of these areas of chiropractic can be very exciting and fast-paced, but the key area, if you want to build a long-term, sustainable chiropractic practice, it has to be focused about the care of older people, because the one thing that frightens older people more than anything else is loneliness. And if people have disability and they find themselves less able to move and less able to mobilize, and they become more and more housebound, they become socially isolated, then I think that is a tragedy for older people. They can't go out and visit their friends, they can't visit their grandchildren. So making sure that we can focus our energy on making sure that the older people stay mobile, stay active, enable them to live happier, healthier, more active lives is absolutely the key to where I think chiropractic can really, really make a difference in society.
Well, you know, my wife had a knee replaced here about 5 years ago, and then she had a ligament torn in her trochanter. And so I have lived through the 10 months on a walker for an A-type person. You know, that's not a good thing. And she made it through with chiropractic care because, for example, we're having a seminar in St. Louis at Logan University in April 12th and 13th, but we're going to talk about geriatrics and how to take care of people that have had replaced hips and replaced knees and things like that, just so the average practitioner out there knows, what do I do?
Exactly. It's so important because, you know, when you rehabilitate someone who's had that experience, and, you know, surgery is just the first step. You know, what do you do post-surgery? You know, once you've had the surgery and the surgeons sign you off, what happens then? And this is where chiropractic can make a difference. Chiropractors who understand that it's about function rather than about pain, about getting people moving, getting people stronger, and rehabilitating them back into normal life. That is life-changing for people.
What advice do you give the next generation of chiropractic leaders, those who will take the profession forward?
Well, you know, it's always an interesting question when I get asked about leadership, and, you know, I've been privileged to be in this position of having a leadership role for a number of years now, as you know, and I suppose that my advice would always be encapsulated in three letters: HHI. And what do I mean by HHI? Well, I think the key pillars of leadership are humanity, humility, and integrity. And I think if you have those three, and you keep your focus on humanity, humility, and integrity, you won't go too far wrong. You can never expect yourself to be an expert in everything. So when you've got a good team around you, that's important. You've got to recognize that you don't know everything, but you've got to get a team of people around you that you can really work with and rely on. But for me, the compass that's really guided me during my time, that I've been privileged to act in these roles, have been those three qualities. And I've tried my hardest to stick with those.
Excellent advice. So what's next for you personally?
Well, that's always an interesting question as well. People think I'm just going to seamlessly step into something else, and nothing could be further from the truth at this time. I would, one of the things I need to do is just take a breather. Doing this role is intense, and from the millions of miles that you've traveled, Arlan, over the last 40-something years, that really it is quite a brutal lifestyle. You spend a lot of time on airplanes, you spend a lot of time in departure lounges, and you spend a lot of time in hotels. I want to use the time to take a pause, take a breather, spend quality time with Caroline, my wife, and my daughters and my grandson, and really refocus and reset on what are the really important things in life. Chiropractic has been such a fundamental part of my existence for the last 35 years. But, it's time to give them the time that they deserve to have, because they've been putting up with my shenanigans over the last, 3 decades. So, I've got that, but I've got other things as well. As you know, I've got a legal background as well as a chiropractic background, so I'll be continuing to do some medico-legal work, some consultancy around ethics and law and legal principles. I've been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a magistrate, which means that I will be working within the community as a justice of the peace, which is an appointed position by the ministry in the UK. So I will be sitting and hearing cases on a wide range of criminal law. And I'm looking forward to doing that. And I've also still got my 1 day a week where I'm in practice. I keep it real. I stay working as a chiropractor. I work within a medical practice on a GP referral basis, and I love seeing people within that medical practice who would otherwise not have access to chiropractic.
Don't you think this is maybe a new model? The integration practice?
Well, integration is what it's all about. And at the start of our conversation, Arlan, we talked about advancing awareness, utilization, and integration. It's no good for me to be spouting off and talking about these things without trying to live it and walk the walk ourselves. So, by doing what I'm doing, and it's a pro bono service. I'm not doing it for the money. I just think that we have a duty to give back to society as chiropractors, and being able to work with my colleagues in medical practice, who are loving the service, because, let's face it, most GPs hate treating back pain and spinal pain.
Well, they don't know what to do with it.
Well, they know that they're limited, and they happily admit that. So to have a chiropractor on site in their practice that takes out the 20-week waiting list that that many people face in the UK before they get to see someone with specialist knowledge around spinal disorders, to have someone on site is something that they really like and they value. And so it's been a great relationship that we've developed, and I'm really enjoying it. I love being a chiropractor. I love the hands-on. I love seeing people come in and tell their stories, and nothing gives me more joy than having a patient come to you and say that, well, what you've done, what you've said, what you've advised has helped me and helped me get back to normal life. Nothing is more rewarding than that.
You're right. What's your final message?
Well, my final message is really that the best is yet to come. I think that when I look over the course of my lifetime as a chiropractor, and I'm sure you will say the same, no one would have imagined where we would be in 2025. But we shouldn't be complacent. The best is yet to come. Let's invest more in research. Let's develop the evidence base. Let's develop our integration. Let's work to be part of everyone's healthcare team. And I think if we can do that, if we can focus on that, if we can seize the opportunities when they come, we will continue to thrive, and chiropractic will continue to go from strength to strength.
Richard Brown, the Secretary General of the World Health Federation, stepping down for that just shortly here, but thank you for your service, and I've seen so many good things happen. That's why in Activator we were supporting you for 10 years, I believe, and we felt it was worthwhile because of the good job that you did and were doing, and you've looked for a replacement and found one, so thank you very much.
Well, Arlan, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I know that our friendship will continue. You are a dear friend to me, as is Judy. You have been steadfast in your support throughout for the World Federation of Chiropractic in general and me in particular, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support that you've given.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.